too many people are too complacent doing nothing. And here's what I tell people. The only way things are going to change is if you actually make a change. Like sitting on your ass doing nothing does nothing except put added weight on you. Like it just does. Stress and pressure. You got to get up. You got to get moving. Some of my coaching clients just get up and walk.
Yeah.
Right. How am I going to get in shape doing that? Because sitting on it's better than sitting on your ass. You know, I tell these kids this too. I mean, I've got dads that come into my course and they're looking at me offline saying, man, my kid's 20 pounds overweight. I pull them aside and go, yeah, but you're fucking 30 pounds overweight. Why do you think he's like that? And then the dads look at me like, I'm in shape. My son's in shape. My daughter's in shape. I don't have the time. Motherfucker, all we have in this world is time. We just don't know how much.
Yeah.
Take 15 minutes a day and work out. I'm too busy. No, you're not. You have to prioritize, strategize, and monetize. That's what most people don't do. And they just prioritize, strategize, and monetize. And monetize does not mean always from a monetary standpoint. How can I create what I think is the most valuable thing on planet Earth? And that's growth.
Thanks for coming on.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'd love to start out. So you and I have talked and we have very similar-ish upbringings, but it's interesting because you and I took almost completely opposite paths. What made you go towards the path that you went towards, which was obviously a lot more constructive than the path I went on? What drove you to do that?
Well, I mean, not that anybody took the wrong path. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say, but I didn't like where my path was going. You know, I was being self-destructive, drinking, doing some drugs, hanging out with the wrong people. And I don't know, I just kind of had one of these epiphanies, one of these moments in time where I was like, if I don't change my shit soon, you know, I'm going to end up, you know, in jail, dead. And I think it was just kind of like a wake-up call. You know, I wish it was something that was, you know, like, you know, God came down and spoke to me or something, but he didn't. It was just at a moment of clarity, a moment of reflection, and said, I don't want to be this guy. I didn't like who I was. I looked in the mirror and I didn't like who I was. I think I caught the demon in time. You know, most people, it's too late for them. I don't, you know, I talk about discipline all the time. You know, I'm a discipline coach, and I say some of the most disciplined people I think I've ever met in my life, and I'm not being cruel, are alcoholics or drug addicts. They always find a way.
Yep.
It's fucking discipline. I mean, no money, no job, they find a way. I mean, if I could be half that disciplined, and I was like, you know, I can be, I need to stop doing that, reverse engineer that, and just become disciplined with, you know, my mind, body, and soul. It's obviously a lot easier said than done. And I, you know, I mean, I think the journey that you've been through is absolutely amazing. We've talked about it offline many, many times. It's very impactful. And I think that's why you are who you are and why you do the things you do. I think we're both the byproducts of pain in some fashion, right? I believe that you can profit, not just from a monetary standpoint, but physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and then of course there is financial growth if you can relate to people, right? Been there and done that. So I can't get up here and talk about, you know, I won't get up here and beat my chest about things I haven't done or haven't happened to me. I only try to talk to things that, you know, are relatable to people. So, and I think if you've been in those, that's like case in point, if I'm trying to work with a young man who's, you know, going down the wrong path, who's doing semi-hard drugs and is drinking his ass off and you know, hanging around with the wrong people, I can relate, you know, like it's not like, you know, when people always say, I know what you're going through, I'm the guy that says, motherfucker, no, you don't. You don't know what I'm going through. And I'll give you a case in point. My father was murdered when I was 11, and someone goes, man, I know what that's like. I'm like, really? Your dad died when you're 11? No, he died like 2 years ago. And we're like, you know, in our 40s at the time. I'm like, and he died of old age. I'm like, you have no idea what it's like to have someone stripped from your life. No, he died of old age of natural causes. My father was murdered when I was 11. And what people don't seem to understand is trauma, you know, a human being can only take so much before they explode or they implode. And sometimes, there's no tail signs. People go down dark paths. They're drinking, they're doing drugs, they're sex. There's so many addictions that you can have, so many vices. And a lot of it is from pain that's caused, and they're trying to run from the pain that was caused during that time. So I don't know, Ange, I know when the time was. I
Yeah.
remember exactly what I was doing. Because it's funny, I can't fucking remember what I had for breakfast 3 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
I can remember being 19 years old, coming home from this bar called The Crease. I remember it was winter. I remember looking in the mirror. I remember it was late at night. I snuck in, washing my face. I was drunk and I was on something. I don't know. I know I was doing something. And when I washed my face and just the water dripping off my face, and I'm looking in the mirror, I didn't see me. I saw a reflection of my father, who was, in my eyes, a good man, but in a lot of eyes, not a good man. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy. Even though, I love my dad and had a bad upbringing with him. I didn't want to become him, and I was becoming him, and I was using him as a crutch to become, I think, this weaker version of who I could really be and who I really was going to become. And, I talk about it, you hear me talking about it with Bedros and everybody. I flipped the switch right then. There was like fucking cold turkey. I was like, I'm going to join the Navy. I'm going to get my shit squared away. It wasn't easy. If I sit here and say I just did it, I didn't have trials and tribulations, and there was things that I'd slip, but I'd catch myself, because then people slip. I think the key is just to get back on course. So I know I've been going off for a while, but I think it's just been a buildup of us talking. So that's
Yeah.
who we are.
I think that's pretty common, though. Either we end up we want to be like our parents, or like myself and you, we want to not be anything like our parents. We don't see that as the winning personality that we want to emulate. And so, like, even for myself, I was like, I'm going to be the exact opposite. My mom is 9 to 5, this, diligent saver. I'm going to be wild and completely opposite, overspender, that sort of thing. That's a mild version of it. But yeah, we see that all the time.
Oh yeah. And and I think nowadays it's so much easier. Things are so much easier accessible, and everybody has an excuse for something. And I hear it all the time. One of my favorite motivational / elevational speakers is Mr. Pena. He is just an animal. He says the truth. Nobody, people say they care, but like, people didn't care about me. You have to care about yourself.
Yeah.
I love when he says that. He's like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck what happened to you. Just like when I get up and I do my speaking now, I tell people, it's not about what I did. Let me tell you what I can do because of what I've been through. Like, I know I make the jokes, Ray Cash Care for me, ABC, that was a joke. Like, I don't go around saying that to people. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But, it is a title. It's kind of like being a doctor or something. It's a title that gets you in the door, gets you some street cred. But once you get in the door, man, you got to make the magic happen. Like, you can't be the Al Bundy living in the past. I can't sit here and beat my chest and tell you, I was a Navy SEAL when I got over drugs and drinking. It's like, okay, but what are you doing now? So it's like, and we both do that. We give back.
Yeah.
So I definitely on different levels, but I think we have the same outcome, and that's trying to help be relatable to people. Me, it's with young men. I know you have, your crew, you have a big crew, and just one day at a time, one step at a time, one win, stacking the W's and definitely stacking up the L's. So that's what it's about.
I love that. And I love how you work with kids, because, had I had that at 11 or something like that, it's possible I wouldn't have gone down the path I did. And so I love that you hit that demographic, and possibly, most likely, head off things before they even happen, so they don't have to learn the hard way like we did.
And that's why we made this course, because my father was murdered when I was 11, and I was a screw up until I was about 16. I started getting my shit squared away when I was 16. Like, in high school, I started lifting weights and started liking girls and playing sports, but I still liked, I still had some demons in the closet from the past, from the violence, from the death. And so I kind of walked that tightrope of good boy, bad boy. And then as I was just progressing and developing, I was the patterns of good boy were getting better, but so were the patterns of bad boy. Drinking was getting heavier, drugs were getting stronger. And, when you have, Satan on one side and the good man on you're always tempted to go over this way. And I knew I was getting ready to steer that vehicle that way. So I just had to do it. And it's something that I teach with all my courses with the young men all the way up to the other things I'm doing now is a self-reflection. You got to look in the mirror like I did that night and really just grade yourself on, your family, your fitness, your finances, and faith, your 4 F-bombs. Back then, I didn't have really any faith. I was just like on my family and my fitness. As I've grown, they've evolved into my 4 non-negotiables. So do I still mess up? Yeah. Do I still have vices? Yeah. But I control them, so I'm a control freak. I say this on every podcast. I try to control as much as I can, right? And this is what I try to teach these young men that I work with. Control what time you get up, control what you put in your body, control the time that you're at the gym, control who you surround yourself with. Because like once you get in a car, I can't control someone's going to hit me if I get in a plane. So, but I'm a control freak. I am crazy. And I want the world to, and I'm not being a freak here, I want the world to be my sub. I want to dominate the world by controlling as much of it as I can. Right.
Is it hard for you to be on a plane and letting the pilot?
Okay. It used to be. But, I think after the military time, all the years of jumping and all the crazy shit I've done, I love it. I love getting on the plane. I love when we hit turbulence. I actually kind of get off when I'm in a controlled environment where I can't control something. Like when turbulence hits and everybody's like, panicking. I sit there and giggle. I'm like, what's going to happen? I love it, but I'm like, listen, at least if I go down, I know I'm a skydiver. I'm going to, I know what to do. It's a joke, but I kind of think like that. I always try to find humor. That's what works for me now is I always try to incorporate humor into when I'm really trying to break through with someone or myself. Like if you ever watch some of the programs that I'm doing, you'll see me do something and I'm like really mad at somebody, but then I'll say something that's kind of like off the wall and funny. And what I'm doing is I'm, there's 3 colors of emotional discipline, red, blue, and green. I'm putting in the red, I'm redlining, I'm pissing them off. And then when I say something funny, I snap them back into their comfort zone. And then, I'm like, next thing you know, I'm freezing them. And that's the color of the blue, right? So I'm just constantly trying to push people physically, mentally, emotionally, including myself, to do that, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, especially trying to reach out to these young men, because I really didn't have a mentor at that age either. Yeah. And it's, people ask why. People always ask me, why do you do the shit you do? And I'm like, the real question is, why don't you? Like, why don't you take time to help people? Because people have this misconception, and as well as I do, because it's like when you first start off doing these types of courses and everybody's, oh, you're charging all this money. Shit costs a lot of money to run, insurance, food, and this and that. And the biggest thing that annoys me is no matter what course it is, I should be able to come for free. Tell me why. Right. Why should you be able to come free? Just because I deserve it. Tell me why you deserve it. And whenever I ask people, and we start really just dissecting why they're there, it's a cry for help is what it is. And I'm like, well, maybe we can do this, or this to get you there. But the approach that you're asking me about is completely wrong. Like I should come here because technically, like to come to one of your courses, it actually costs money. So for me to come to your course free, for Angie to come to my course free, I actually have to pay you to come to my course. Now, I'm all about helping the world, but I at least got to break even on things. And I know
and they got to have skin in the game. Like if they're not investing anything, are they going to get anything? There's no value there for them because it's free. So they don't have any exchange happening.
Yeah. And I run different programs like that. The father-son thing, the young men don't really have the skin in the game just because of their age. But the other older courses that we have, I don't let people buy courses for other people because they don't have any fucking skin in the game. It's like, it's so easy to just go, I didn't pay for it, buy, versus, the blood, sweat, and tears to pay whatever course, price point we're paying for. It's just like the analogy, man. If you pay for a pair of shoes, you're going to take care of them, right? If you bust your ass, I remember my first cool pairs of Adidas, I got it saved up, I worked my ass off. Man, I kept them things shining, looking good.
Yeah.
If somebody just starts buying me things, you take advantage of it. You take it for granted. And I think that's the problem with society today. Too many, and I'll talk about kids because that's my specialty. And I'm talking about young men, right? I don't know shit about women. I don't, trust me on this. I don't pretend to. I get it all the time. Why don't you run a women's course? Because there's amazing women like you doing a lot of things with me. That's not my 5% zone of genius. My zone of genius is working with young men because I remember how screwed up I was during that age, and I can relate to them. And I have a way of reaching these kids, and I'm raw about it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, oh, the world's going to be, no, man, the world is fucking tough. So I'm going to make you tougher. So, and there's just some rules and some codes that you have to live by. And if you do that, you understand the importance of a handshake, how to treat a woman. These are the things that we talk about, You don't have a girlfriend, I'll teach you how to treat a lady. If you have a mom or sister, how you treat them is going to be a direct reflection of how you're going to treat another woman. If you have a father in your life, that's how, and you see how how he's treating women, most young men will emulate that. So I didn't have anybody, so I didn't know what the hell to do with a woman. Like, I didn't, it's like the first time you have sex with a woman, you're like, what do I do here? I don't know. You're figuring it out, right? But if you have somebody that can mentor you and teach you, open a car door for a woman, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired with everything you do. If you just be honest, and stop the bullshit and just, speak to a woman with honesty and sincerity, speak to your friends with honesty and sincerity, and have that internal dialogue with yourself with sincerity, and you're going to grow so much. And I teach a lot of, I teach a young man, the importance of telling another man that you love him. It's good. Like, I have people in my life that are men. Before, I wouldn't do that. Like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to tell a man you love him. You're not, everybody's like, oh, we ain't got to get in the whole homophobic thing. Listen, I don't care. It's okay to tell human beings you love them if they're doing great things. It's an expression. It's an emotion. It's a feeling.
It's like the highest vibration. I mean, there's nothing more empowering than to feel the love.
It's so damn good when someone just says, man, I love you. Yeah. Or they don't say I love you, just like, right, I love what you're doing. I'm like, man, I thank you, man. That means so much. I always send the voice message out. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I know I've got some things to work on, but I'm trying, because you get all these haters out there, and every now and then I break the golden rule. The cardinal rule. I know I'm not supposed to, but everybody like bitches and bitches. And I go, what are you doing? And then they're like sharks. I'm just like, what are you doing to make a difference? And 99.99% of them are doing jack and squat.
Yeah, they're just like keyboard. What do they call those keyboard
warriors? Keyboard commandos. Like, I'm like, I would love for some of these young kids to say that to me, because I would just be like, but I think they're the ones that need it the most. If we want to get real, like, part of me wants to strangle them. Part of me just wants to give them a big bear hug and say, listen, man, I know what you're going through. Maybe you weren't loved. Maybe you feel like you were neglected or abandoned. I get it. I've been there. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be. That's what I tell everybody. I know it doesn't have to be this way. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to continue. I'm 51 years young. I'm going to do this as long as I can.
Yeah. Well, you must be doing big shit. I mean, typically we don't attract haters unless we're making a pretty big impact. If you weren't making
that was
an
the
impact.
hardest. That was the hardest thing for me, because I went viral a couple of times with Bedros, and we all run with the same posse, that Wes is, and Wes Watson's one of my coaches, Andy Frisilla. I hang out with all these guys that are like the who's who and gals of social media. And every single one of them said the same damn thing. They're like, Ray, if you got haters, you're doing it right. I'm like, I don't understand. And they're like, you think, and the people that I would think would never get haters get it all the time. Like, there's nobody I've ever met that is successful that doesn't have a hater. And they're like, they hate us because they want to be us. And I'm like, then why don't they, like, if I don't like what someone's doing, BLOCK, block, I get rid of them. And they're like, because you're on another frequency, you're ultra high frequency. I only want to surround myself with ultra high frequency human beings, people that are just on a whole different wavelength, that see life. I mean, listen, life's great. Sometimes life sucks, but if you're alive, I mean, my frequency is, if I'm alive, man, I'm going to just crush it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm growing, in every aspect of the family, the fitness, the finances, and the faith. When I'm working and hustling with Dan and Bedros, and I'm like, man, and the hardest thing I had is when I started working with these cats, and I mean, there's some, 6, 7, 8, 9 figure guys,
Yeah.
Wes has been helping me out right now, making some great months. And he's like, all of them say the same thing. They're like, the more you make, and I'm like, man, the more I take. And they're like, no. And it took me forever. And finally they told me it's the more you give back financially or with your time. And I remember the first time Bedros Keuilian said that to me. And I try to watch my language on here. I said, Bedros, I don't understand what you mean. And he always got that big hand of his, and he put it on my shoulder and he goes, Bedros is all articulate on, but he just leans in and goes, it's because you don't make enough fucking money. And I was like, coming from there, I was like, okay, but he's right. There comes a time where that pendulum shifts and you start making better money and you start living a better way. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I've got the toys, I've got the things that I want. Now, how can I start giving back? And that's when we came up with the Squire program. We were like, how can we help an area of individuals, of human beings that we can relate to?
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of hate from moms. Like, I'm a single mom. I get it. My mom, I was raised by a single mom. I get it. We can provide a male role model for you. Well, why can't I be there? To be quite honest, let's say it was you, Angie, because 20 grown-ass men, fathers, don't want to be sharing what they do with their sons, and they don't with a woman. They're just like, in my household, my wife and daughter talk about things that I'm kind of excluded from, and I'm okay with that. I have
totally okay with not being part of that.
I don't, time of the month things and all the shit that you go through, man. The woman is a beautiful, complicated system. I get it, and I leave it alone. But that's not my zone of genius. My genius is A, B, and C, and then theirs is everything else. Just like any household.
Yeah, well, and I can appreciate that. Just this year was the first time I went to an all women's retreat. And now I've done 2 in the last few months, but there is just a certain comfortableness that you can express when you're with only people of your same gender who are like-minded. It's you can let down those walls. You're not trying to, be any other way than who you are, and you can be vulnerable. So I totally understand the value of that. And I maybe never would have understood that until this year.
Yeah, and people that say, "Oh, that's not true," bullshit. It is. You're more comfortable when you're around your own species. You really are. It's just men act different around women. We all do. We're animals. You put 3 guys in a room with a good-looking woman, we act different. Everybody wants to be the apex predator. That's what we do. It's how we are. Yeah. But if you put a bunch of dudes in a room, if we're walking around like this, you'll see guys. They'll be like, they'll put their chest down, and show them. Gus, it's because they're like, I got no money to impress. But
you're not trying to impress each other.
That's what men do, and women the same. I mean, women are the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Women. I tell women, dress up. Like I tell people that are like, even some of my coaching clients, I'm like, dress up. You lost the weight. Put the heels on. Put the dress on. You look fantastic. You don't want people to what? Know that you work hard, that you've got a beautiful body. Well, they'll body shame. That's something new that's happened. It used to be back in the day, if you were overweight, they would body shame you. But now it's like the more in shape you are, the more body shamed you are. I'm like, you know what? Everything comes in cycles. It's going to go back. I am not going to get fat. I'm not going to get out of shape. I'm not going to apologize for being fit to fit in with any group. I won't do it. And I tell, I honestly think a strong woman, could be wrong, wants a young man that is strong, chest out, in shape, takes care of himself. I know there's a few of you freaks out there that like different things, and that's fine. But a majority, if I have a role, I need to be in shape, to be able to protect what's mine.
Absolutely. Well, and if you're putting in the work, you want somebody who equally puts in the work, because, you're doing a lot to improve yourself. And so I think we're attracted to people we see who are also very fit and putting in the work. There's just like an instant recognition and appreciation there that doesn't even need to be said.
People always ask me, what are you attracted to in a woman? I'm attracted to discipline. So the case in point, the external is a woman taking care of herself. She's in shape. She dresses good. Her nails are done. Because and I tell these young men this all the time in my course. I'm like, you are not attracted. And I know, April, if you can hear me back there, I'm letting you know this too. Men are never attracted to you because of your personality when they first meet you. They're not. They're just not.
I know.
I gotta. As soon as we hear, oh, she's got a great personality, we're like,
You
what?
already know.
We already know. But if you just, it can be eye contact, and it usually starts there or something. The animal instincts come out. Wow, she takes care of herself. And then from there, that's the external. And like you said, it's walls. We have to try to get into those walls and get to know the real you, right? Because there's days where we look like $1 million, and there's days where we're like this, but we're still the same beautiful person, right? The outside is a beautiful shell, but I honestly, like what I teach these young men, it's what's inside. Like, I told guys that are fit, I'm like, you want to date a woman that's out of your league? They're like, tell me how. I'm like, make her smile. Make her smile. You ain't got to impress her with money. They're not the kind of girls that you want. Make her smile, make her laugh. Like, I'm like, don't be a clown, but just, be humble and make her smile. Once you make a woman smile, that's it, man. And they're like, and this, now, again, I'm talking to young men. I'm not giving them dating tips and stuff like this, but,
When you say young man, is that like 11, 12, 14?
Well,
16?
I mean, I usually try to have those talks with like the 14 and 16-year-olds in there. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know how that would look, me trying to promote 10-year-olds dating, but so I'm not, make sure I say that. But a young man, 14, I mean, my daughter's 14 and she's got a friend who's met me, and there's, I have very strict rules, and he's a very well-disciplined young man, and he's everything that he's respectful. He's in shape. He takes care of himself. I know the family, and he knows where I stand on things, and he accepts them. He doesn't have a choice. And I told him one day you'll understand that, but that's what's so key. So in a nutshell, I'm not saying, I want to make young men again. We have all these things going on right now and I'm watching because if I even blink the wrong way on these topics, I offend people, but cutting boobs out, doing this and doing that. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. I just, I have friends that are gay. I have friends that are this, I have friends that are that, but I do know that what I'm trying to do is for the young men out there that just need some guidance, that are in the grand scheme of things normal, because there's a lot of uncertainty of what's going on these days. I just want to give them the tools that I didn't have, that Bedros didn't have, that Steve didn't have when we were that age, so they can be ahead of the game, because it seems like nowadays it's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, back in the day, there weren't dating apps, and I don't understand all that shit, man. Back in the day, I just walk up and say, excuse me, hi, I'm Ray. What's your name? Angie. Hey, Angie, I'm very attracted. Could I buy you a drink? It's a yes or no. And then it either starts from there or it ends from there. But you know what? At least I tried. Versus I see these kids nowadays, I'm like, go over and say something. Hell, what if she says no? What if she says yes? But what if she says no? I'm like, man, listen, we can look at this glass half empty or half full all day long. You're looking at the glass half empty, buddy. That's self-sabotage. That's the problem with society. Men, we are the kings of self-sabotaging. I tell a young man, listen, unless you know for a fact that she's dating someone, just walk up, even if she shoots you flat down. I'm telling you this right now. I'll tell you this right now. I swear on it. She's going to say, man, that takes balls, because that takes balls to walk up and just be completely honest and sincere with someone, because purity of soul is such a rare commodity these days, man. When you just there are books where you can look up like how to hit on a girl. Like, stupid.
You could probably ask ChatGPT and he'll tell you.
It's just just go up. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I find you very attractive. Can I buy you a drink, or can I get a cup of coffee? And I'm telling you, the first thing she's going to do, if she's single, and she is going to look you over. And this is what I tell these young men. And she's going to make a quick analysis right there. And if she says yes, that opens the door. What you do from there is solely on you, and the mannerisms and the just almost the courtingships that you've learned as a young man, because dating a woman, it's a process, right? Like if you're a married man, you picked her, she chose you, right? You can't choose your children, what they're going to look like, how they're going to be. What you pick, she chooses, right? So if you two get married, will you marry me? You have two choices, yes or no, right? We're sitting there, it's like, shit, what's she going to say? Even though if you know she's going to, you don't know, she could say no. So, you know, and I'm a huge supporter, and I love women because I think women are the most powerful force on planet Earth. And why people always say, why do you say that? You're Navy SEAL. Because every human being has to pass through your legs when they're born or come out of your stomach. Not mine.
Well, they're not all passing through mine. I had two pass through mine, but that's it.
Pass through yours. But, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, there's that bond. I mean, it's,
well, it's called Mother Earth. Yeah. Like it's the
every warrior dropped from his mother. That's just how, I don't care who you are. So, and when I talk to young men like this, they're like, I never thought of it like that, Mr. Ray or Mr. Cash. I'm like, oh, you know, it takes your mom and dad, but, you know, dad has his part, but mom has a much bigger part of this process at the end. And another thing that I tell these young men, and I got to watch what I'm talking about, is a lot of young men today don't have a lot of confidence. You know, so when I sit them down, the first thing I tell them is, and this is key, right? 10 to 11 to 16 years old, I say, do you understand how you were created? Right? And they'll all giggle. Yeah. Okay. And I said, has anybody here ever been too nervous to talk to a girl, or wishes they were someone else, or wishes they had something they don't have, or wishes they were taller? I could go on and on. And they all raised their hands. And I said, how many of you here second guess yourself? Hands go up, right? Hey, this is a completely safe zone. How many people self-sabotage? What's that mean, Mr. Ray? Talk yourself out of something, seeing something and not saying it. All hands go up. I said, well, let's rewind to the day that your mom and dad were together. And when your dad, you know, and I'm going to be just a little rude, released semen, there were tens of millions or hundreds of millions of little yous running, just racing. It's just crazy. This is what I tell these kids, and they're just sitting here like this. And I said, only one made it to the target. I don't get into to the target. And they're like, and I said, that was you. I said, so you have already won the lottery. Now, in the first question they ask, every one of them goes, so what is my purpose? I said, well, that's what you got to figure out. So that's what because I honestly feel that if a man is, and again, I know what you do, but I'm speaking of young men, the more secure a human being is with themselves, I think the easier it is for them to find their real journey, right? And I say it all the time, do what you love what you do. I love helping people. It makes me feel good. But I get the best of both worlds because, like you, I've learned how to live off of that. So that's America, baby, doing what you love. And I tell people, try the course. If you don't like it, I've told people I'll give you a money back guarantee. All the haters, they don't want to hear that. They're just like, why? And I'm like, if you have to ask why, you're the person that needs to be here more than anybody. So, and we're making a huge difference. We're running like 4 to 6 courses a year. We're starting to expand with things. We've had other people we've got one down in Texas now. We've got Nick Mulatto. So I'm sure he is running one in North Carolina. Which I say, let's save as many as we can.
Absolutely. Well, and I got to figure, and I don't know how long you've been doing this, but generationally, it's so much different than like when you and I were growing up, because, we didn't have all the social media, phones and all that. We had to just go make shit happen. Tough love. I was raised with tough love. It was like, suck it up, sister. It is what it is. But I feel like nowadays everybody is so soft, and let me prevent you from going through the hardships that I had to go through, that I think parents will, and teachers and everybody overcompensates to make things easier on everybody. But what we're creating is a very soft generation and soft society.
Like back in the day, you had to work for that shit. Like,
everything.
Like if I wanted to meet Angie when I was 14 years old, she lived 12 miles away. I jumped on my bike and I drove over there. I found a way. I couldn't even
Okay.
afford to watch. I look at the damn sun. You figure out what time it was.
Totally. It's like, how do I know it's dinner
time?
time? Oh, the sun's going down. Okay, I'm going to go home now.
She lives that way towards the sun, and you would pedal. That's the thing. We didn't need, like back in the day, you had to work harder and you appreciated things more. Nowadays, there was a movie out, Hollywood Hot Tub, when they like went back in time and like he was like, "What's your email? What's your Google? What's your this?" And she said, "You just have to find me," because that sounds like so much work. Some of the greatest things that you will ever accomplish require the greatest amount of work. Falling in love shouldn't be easy. Becoming successful, holy shit, I'm learning that. I thought I was like, oh, I'll be a Navy SEAL, this will be easy. Bedros was like, you ready? I'm like, I'm ready. I was like, I'm just still drinking through a fire hose. Nothing worthwhile in this life is easy. Being fit is not easy. Nothing is. And that's what but it's so easy to do this.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll order my food in. I'll do this. I'll do that. It's ridiculous. Put the phones away. You want some advice, younger generation? Put the damn phone away. Put the damn little game things away. Go out and go meet I tell people, go meet 3 people a day. Go meet 3 people a day and get to learn something new about them. We do this in our corporate training events. Still want to come out your way and work with you and your team.
Yeah, would love
Gotta
that.
get my hands on you and your team. I'm dying to. But yes, you got to do that. And when I say that to people, they're like, what? I could just sit home and like, I hate Zooming. I hate Zooming. I'd much rather be there. I like to see, feel, and I'm a hands-on kind of guy. And that's today's society is numb to that, And a lot of the old school cats, man, the Frisillas and the Fleshmans and the Coolians, they know all the technology, but they're the same way. They'd rather do a handshake and do business with like just here and here. I don't sign a lot of contracts. I remember when I started working for Bedros, he's like, yeah, that's great, but we need to sign. I'm like, sign what? He's like, yeah, man, handshakes don't work anymore. I'm like, because in my world they do, but not in the corporate world. So,
and not in the healthcare world or anything
or
else.
any
like
other
you've
world,
got to, you've got to protect yourself, because if there's a way that someone could take advantage, they definitely will.
I agree 1000%.
Yeah.
So let's turn the channel here. Hold on. You're asking me all this stuff. Let me change my channel. So I'm going to just turn channel. So why do you do what you do? Like, I'm going to interview you. This hasn't been done before. Why do you do what you do?
Well, grew up starting using very young, and I got myself in a lot of trouble. And in order to avoid going to prison, I was given the opportunity to go to rehab. And although I was still in denial that I even had a problem, I was facing 10 years in prison at 20 years old, but the light bulb still hadn't gone on. And through that process, and I couldn't afford it. I was sentenced to a year at the rehab. And so very early on, I started earning my keep because nothing was given to me. And so I started working, and I started working with people who are like me. And then I went, holy fuck, I love helping people who are in the similar situation overcome their addiction like I have. And so, I was always born that way. I always loved helping people. I was the girl that was holding up people's hair when they were throwing up, or different scenarios like that. I've always had a passion for helping people. So it kind of, I don't want to say I fell into it, because this was obviously my destiny, but I was lucky enough to be put on this path very young, so that I've been able to live out my adult life helping others who are like me.
So I have to tell all your listeners this, and I'm going to watch how I say this. I'm going to word it politically correct. So I actually met Angie when she was interested in attending a course we were in. Yeah. So I did something that I never did before. I didn't do my research on you. Like, all the people that come through, I'm like, oh yeah, and doesn't matter. I was just like, oh, okay, I'll call her and talk to her. And we just immediately had this. When I say chemistry, I just mean like connection, as in just attitude. So I don't want anybody thinking anything crazy here, right? We just, when you just connect with someone quick. And I kind of started talking a little bit about my past. You started talking a little bit about your past. I actually thought you were joking. I actually, you were saying this because, and listen, I'm harmless as hell. I see this beautiful, attractive woman, and you said something like, I was this, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I said something like Hagerstown, Maryland, which is a very well-known meth amphetamine place in Maryland. And then I remember getting off the phone with you and I was like, let me do something. That I said, and I looked up and I read your bio and I literally was like, oh my God, I am making, like, it just didn't register. And then I saw all the amazing things you were doing. I remember calling you back and saying, hey, just so you know, and you were so cool about it. But I was like, oh my God, I just killed myself. But my point to this is whenever you're talking to someone, I always try to do as much research as I can. And if someone is talking to you about something, because you were so casual with it, like, you were just like, yeah, I was this and this. And I was like, I'm looking at you as very successful and we're talking and I'm looking at some of the stuff, but I didn't go far enough down. I'm like, gotta be, because I'm a jokester. And then all of a sudden, I actually reached out to a couple of people that we know too. And they're like, dude, she like changed her whole life around. And I was like, I remember getting ready to call you back. I'm like, it was like the hardest call it's ringing. I'm like, whoa. And you were such a trooper about it. And I've been dying to talk with you since, but I wanted to tell everybody that I made a complete ass of myself when I met this woman. The fact that you're even having me on your podcast, you're a saint. So thank you.
Oh, stop. No, we got along great. It was the humor. Like you said, I love to laugh. And, even though we both have our paths, I try to make light of it, but not light of it, just connect with people. It's just a genuineness, but I appreciate that.
We find humor in our past, I was abused a lot and, the substance abuse and things like that. I that's a great release for me, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word to use for you, but and the one thing that I always teach people that have gone through some of the things that we've done is, there's human beings have toxic cognitions and they have the inner voice, which is in layman's terms, the inner bitch and demons, right? So a lot of people that have substance abuse or drug abuse, or these young kids that I'm getting, they get their wires twisted. They try to kill the demon instead of trying to kill the inner bitch. So, 60,000, the 60,000 thoughts, 48,000 of them are negative, and it's usually with your family, fitness, finance, and faith. If we could just take one of those off a day for the next 10,000 days, your life is great. But a demon. So if you, perfect example, if there is substance abuse or alcohol, like you won't see me, I don't drink too much because I don't want to wake that demon up. It's sleeping. It's not gone. So too many people think that the demon goes away. You can't kill a demon. You have to respect it, right? I always say name, claim, and tame your demon that you have. And all of us have demons. And that's trauma from our past. Yeah. So like, hypothetically, if you were molested as a child, if you drive down the road and the smell of something reminds you of somebody, I won't drive down that road ever again. Yeah. Or I'll do everything I can to avoid it in my power. Why stir that demon? Why put myself? I have friends that are, when we finish the project, that are like, just got over being an alcoholic, no booze. Like they are like, no, we can do it. I'm like, it's not that important to us. It's not that important. You know what? I respect you. I respect what you've done, or if you see people like last night we were out, I was out with some friends and it was getting late and it was starting to go down. I'm like, nope, Uber, going home. Just, you have to know those left and right flanks of life. And does that ever happen to you, or do you have it completely contained? Because every time I feel I have something completely contained, some outside entity just like triggers it. Like it's a little, and I'm like, oh, nope, well, yeah. I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think there's just a lot of discipline and doing the right thing. So yeah. Okay. I mean, I get it. We have similar philosophies for sure. And I would never want to go back down that path again, because I do believe it can be a very slippery slope, especially if you have that in your past. Like that would be, and I've seen people who've had their lives together, but they didn't have their addiction until they were older. And then to like lose everything. Like when I was struggling, I didn't have anything. So there was nothing really to lose, well, except my freedom, but that's kind of a big thing. But I feel like it can be much harder on people who've established a lot and then literally lose it all to get back to where they were, or even better than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's funny. You were mentioning the humor part. Like one of my favorite characters in a movie is Thor. obviously he's very good looking, but he's so funny. He just cracks me up. He doesn't even take himself seriously. So I think it's funny that you said that. It's like my favorite superhero of all times.
Got good taste in superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, okay, now the kids that come to you, are they already heading down that path, or is it just like, their dads are like, kid, you need to toughen up. We're going to go do this. What is the person that's attracted to the courses that you go to?
It's
Or
all
you
percentages,
facilitate?
like maybe 20 or 30% of them come from broken home, or, we've had one father, who was a white son and mother. She remarried an African-American guy, and they just weren't connecting. He was in the military. We have some young men that have great relationships, all the way up to great relationships with their fathers. They just want to do something together. It's a huge, wide spectrum. I think a lot of what we've seen is usually a broken home, because we have to get waivers signed from make sure mom's good with it and everything, or just trying to get some bonding time. And I tell a lot of the dads, like, we talk about, you got to do hard shit. You also got to do fun shit, and you got to do this with your kids. So you got to, this course is fun and it is hard. We're pushing them, and I will discipline the many for the few and the few for the many. I do it all the time. And they just need to understand these life lessons. But there is no stereotypical perfect scenario. It's all ages, all races. And I think the one commonality we have is they just want to create a better bond. And we even provide some male role models. We have a lot of uncles stepping in. We've had a few incidents where, like, a brother adopted like his sister's child because she was going down a dark path. I mean, we've seen everything, but the one thing that we see more than anything is, like, one of the events that we do, it's a huge trust thing, and I'll just tell everybody, we blindfold the young men, right? And I tell them, you have to block out everything. You just have to listen to whomever that is, because I'm going to tell you to go right when you're supposed to be going left. And if I tell you to go right, you have to go through this maze of fire, nails, glass. I mean, and if you mess up, like, you're going to the hospital. And one guy thought it was fake, and one of our instructors cut his arm and needed some stitches, rebar. I mean, it's real. And they're like, wait a minute. And I'm like, shit got real. So all you have to do is listen to the voice. And now, if it is a father, son, or someone, the male role model that's been in their life, I said, all we're doing is showing you what your father, whoever this has been doing for you since day one. All we're doing is amplifying it, because now it's just you and him, right? Because a lot of these young kids think their parents are just fucking ATM machines and they don't need to work. And I'm like, no. Your job should be to try to help out as much as you can. Rules I teach kids, like, parents, don't ever pay your kid. I won't pay my daughter a dime for doing chores. I don't pay her a dime. She babysits to make money. I take 40% of it. Sounds like taxes. I'm teaching her. Like, too many parents are just letting these kids get off too easy. And I hear it all the time. Well, I want them to have a better life than me. So do I.
Yep.
So do I. But that doesn't mean I can't spoon feed my children forever, right? My wife and I have had some serious talks with my daughter. I've had some serious talks with my son, and there are responsibilities that you have to be checks in the box as parents, is that we need to make sure that our kids have before we fucking send them off. Because the world is not the same place it was 20, 30 years ago. It's a dangerous place, I highly recommend young men. I tell them all the time, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, do a sport. Ladies, gymnastics, CrossFit, go to jiu-jitsu, learn some taekwondo, learn how to defend yourself. We go on with this, but we do this back to this trust drill. We walk these young men through these horrific conditions. And I'm sitting there screaming and yelling. And I'm like, don't listen to me. Listen to them, right? And when it's over with, this is where it really kind of all comes together. The culmination is when they're done, they want to rip, they're blindfolded off. And I tell the fathers, don't you dare let them control the tempo. You tell them no, I'll tell you when to take it off. And they're sitting there like this. Kids that have like, they're like, yes, sir, dad, they get daddy. I mean, they're scared shitless. And when they take it off, it's hell yes or hell, go to hell, but it's usually a big giant hug and
Oh,
and I tell the dads when this is over with, this is where it starts. You can never go to a course and that be the end point of something. That's what too many people do. They'll go to one of your courses, they'll learn a lot of valuable tips. They go home and what do? They dump it all. No,
yep.
that's where Andy Frisella's got it made 75 hard. You go in there. I told Andy it should be called Life's Hard. And you got all your up funnels, but it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like 75 hard. And people always ask me, what do I do after 75 hard? Do it again.
Yeah.
And again, and again, and again. And that's what I tell these kids. What do I do? We've got some father and sons that have come back to our course 3 and 4 times.
Mm.
We don't change it up that much. Why do they do it? Because it is an amazing bonding experience, because we put them through pressure and pain and the unknown and the uncertainty, because that's what fuels the human mind. That's how we grow. I tell people, you're never going to grow unless you know. And what we do there is we poke and we prod and we make them tired and dirty. And a lot of these people see me yelling at these young men and they're like, you're so cruel. I'm like, I wish to God someone would have yelled at me when I was younger. I wish to God someone would have grabbed a hold of me and said, what are you doing? I wish to God someone would have just grabbed me and said, I love you so much, I'm going to knock you. I do. I wish they would have. Nobody did that for me. And that's the problem. A lot of these men and women in today's society, these young men and women, they don't have anybody there. And listen, if you're a single mom and you're busting your ass like my mom and you're working 2 jobs, hey, circumstances are circumstances, but quality time that you do have with your children. I've also seen some moms that raise a couple of children. They're the most squared away kids I've ever seen in my life. And no one can understand that formula.
Yeah.
I think it's just in our DNA and we have it or we don't, or we want it and we need it, or I don't know that.
Or there's the trauma, like we talked about.
Yeah.
There's that common denominator of those of us that didn't do well because we have this trauma that's down there that needs some type of addressing.
And one of the major graduate components of being a SEAL, like myself, is coming from a split family and you do an individual sport, wrestling. Like I am literally just a billboard of what, minus being a little short of what a graduate of a SEAL should be. That's it. It's crazy. Studies have been proven, because most young men, like if you have a single mom and they don't go down the wrong path, they want to step up and try to be the alpha of the family and provide. And that's the role that I had to take, but I took it a little late in life. And I don't know, I think we all have this internal mechanism in us, excuse me. It's just some things and some ways will get it turning, but most they don't. Like everybody says, what does it take to be a Navy SEAL? I'm like, you have it. It's just, are you willing to dig, to do things like what we've gone through? You just got to be willing to dig yourself out of a hole. And sometimes you can't climb out of the hole. You got to dig a deeper hole and go around. And it's dirtier, it's nastier, it's exhausting. That's the best symbolism I have. I show this in all my seminars. I'm like, how do you get us hole? We climb out of it. Nope. How else? You got to dig it. Why don't I have a shovel? Yeah, you do. You got 10 of them. Start digging, motherfucker. And I talk to these kids like that, and they're like, but they get it. You always have to think 3-dimensional, out of the box.
Yeah. Well, and I think also people are so used to being comfortable that the thought of intentionally putting themselves in uncomfortable situations is like a weird phenomena these days. It's like, why would I do that? Like I like my comfortable life. Why would I put myself through that?
Yeah. Too many people are too complacent doing nothing. And here's what I tell people. The only way things are going to change is if you actually make a change. Like sitting on your ass doing nothing does nothing except put added weight on you. Like it just does. Stress and pressure. You got to get up. You got to get moving. Some of my coaching clients, just get up and walk.
Yeah.
Right. How am I going to get in shape doing that? Because it's better than sitting on your ass. I tell these kids this too. I mean, I've got dads that come into my course and they're looking at me offline saying, man, my kid's 20 pounds overweight. I pull them aside and go, yeah, but you're fucking 30 pounds overweight. Why do you think he's like that? And then the dads look at me like, I'm in shape. My son's in shape. My daughter's in shape. I don't have the time. Motherfucker, all we have in this world is time. We just don't know how much.
Yeah.
Take 15 minutes a day and work out. I'm too busy. No, you're not. You have to prioritize, strategize, and monetize. That's what most people don't do. And they just prioritize, strategize, and monetize. And monetize does not mean always from a monetary standpoint. How can I create what I think is the most valuable thing on planet Earth? And that's growth. That's what you have to figure out as a human. I don't care if you're a man, a woman, a he, a she, a shim. I don't care what color you are. None of that shit matters to me. All I care about is if you're a great human being, you're a great human being. If you're not, you suck. It doesn't matter who you are. That's what I tell everybody. And they don't have to like it. They don't have to agree with me. Yeah. But I also am not going to change who I am because it works.
Do you see the same results with adults? Because I know also another one of your programs is you go into businesses, and I've seen all your videos, and you're putting these people through the surf and, you know, just torment, and they bond together. And do you see the same good benefits coming from adults?
Yes and no. They fight me on things. They always fight me on things. I'm taking a picture of what we're doing. I like that. Here's the thing, right? The men that come to my courses, like, and I, you know, like when we were doing the project, need to change. When we go to corporations, you always have, like, if we have 20 people, there's always one or two negative Nancy's in there. Just, they fight you on everything. They fight you on everything. It's just like, you know, every business has that cancer, and I hate using that word. It has this, that band, you know, that scab that just never heals. You're it. And then it's like, why? And then usually they're the ones that create the most growth. They're just, well, this is the way we've been doing things. Just because you've been doing something doesn't mean it's the right fucking way. Or, you know, I'm 60 years old. I'm too old to change. No, you're not. You're not too old to change. Change happens every day. Taste buds change every 3 to 5 years. Seasons change, right? Everything evolves. You just have to be willing to accept it. Do I see great growth? Yes. Are more people more stubborn than others? Yes. But here's the thing. You can't save them all. Yep. You know, I'll lead the horse to the water. They have to drink it. I'll throw you a life jacket. You got to put it on. But some people don't want to be saved, and some people aren't thirsty. They're not thirsty enough. They're not hungry enough. They don't crave it enough. They're just, and these are the people that I feel sorry for because they're not reaching their full potential. I tell people, you have so much more. I haven't hit mine yet. Yeah, people ask me, what do you want to be? I'm going to be the next Jack LaLanne. I'm going to be bigger, better, faster, and stronger than Big Jack when he passed away. People are like, that's insane. Okay. What's your goals and dreams? Not a dream, motherfucker. It's not. It's not. It's a hesitation. That's all it is. It's a hesitation. It's doubt. Yeah. Whenever I ask somebody, my courses, why are you here? Not an answer. Why are you here? Or I ask these young men, do you want to be better? Stand up. 20 of them stand up. Sit down. And how many of you are obsessed to be better? They stand up. You can't be both. Why did you? I said I'm going to give you two things. Why did you just go with the first one? Everybody wants to go with the first choice, the easy choice. Wanting something is temporary. Obsessed is like 7-Eleven. It never stops. I'm obsessed with helping as many human beings as I can. And the grand scheme of things, constantly helping myself. Call me selfish, call me whatever you want, but I'm going to save as many as I can. I've got an endless supply of life rafts, man. And I'm going to throw as many as I'll throw them until I can't throw them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's the opposite of selfish. That is like the most selfless thing that you could do.
I'm also like that with myself too. I'm constantly trying to improve myself. I'm hard on myself. I am selfish with my why. My why is me. I tell everybody that. Like, everybody tells me, I want to be a better this, I want to be a better that, I want to be a better this. I'm like, well, what's your why? My wife and kids. No. How can you be a better father, husband, lover, friend, or whatever if you're not a better you? So the only way that I can help people is if I continually help myself.
I love that. I feel like, especially at our age, I run into a lot of people that are my age, and they've like almost already given up. They're like, as good as it gets. And, oh, you know, I got this, I can't be fit like you, you know, I've got this knee pain and this and that. And they're just settling. And I'm like, you're really going to live the next 30, 40 years like this, just settled? Like, this is as good as it gets? Like, don't you want quality of life? Like, we've got a longevity these days. It's just shocking to me that is the vast vast majority of people, minus people like you and all our a lot of our entrepreneur group friends that are like us. But a lot of people are just like, this is it.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I'll throw myself under the bus. I just did an event with HPLT, High Performance Leadership Training with Brian Mazza. We went out to Montauk. It's out like Long Island, and we did the Murph, and we did all these amazing, these just PT machines. And I did the SEAL, motivation with him in the morning. It's called SEAL activation, where I destroy him and do all this. And after we did that, the next day we had an 11-mile run. I haven't run 11 miles since SEAL training. And I got bad feet, and I could have made 1,000 excuses. And I ran 5.5 miles out there, and I was dead last, which I didn't mind. And on the way back, I started becoming that little bitch. I did. I don't say. So what did I do? I called my friend Jay Thane, who got his leg blown off. My feet have been cracked and broken, and I was limping real bad. He goes, if you can breathe, you can run, crawl, walk, roll. And I was just like, and I was calling him like I was expecting him to feel sorry for me. And I knew exactly, he was like, and I mean, I'm not going to tell your listeners what he said to me. He was on my thing today, and I was like, and I didn't run any faster, but I didn't stop. I ran the whole thing. And he said, like he told me, he goes, Ray, pain isn't temporary, it's permanent. You control it. So he's like, control the pain. And I mean, I couldn't walk that night. Next day I got up, controlled the pain, it was gone. So now I'm running more. So that's a case of how I help myself. But everybody's a subject matter expert in something. So I'm that guy that like Lily will call Michael Chandler, to all the famous people that we know, and go, hey man, I'm dying right now, I need you. And they're just like, they'll stop what they're doing and they'll be like, and they're not giving me motivational advice. They are ripping me a new one, but that's what I relate to. And that's what I use. The reason why I'm getting this is I tell these young men, it's like, I tell these young men, motherfucker, take off that apostrophe in that T. You got 10, won't, one, stop, you can do this, and it's just little words like that, just changing the narrative of yourself and who you are and what you feel and what you believe. You can do anything. I tell these kids, you can do anything. You can do anything you want. What do you want to be? And I tell them, don't tell me you want to be a gamer and do something stupid.
Influencer, like, TikToker.
Yeah, TikToker. It's great. I mean, there's some people that have figured that out, good on them. But that shit's going to run out like everything else. You have to be an endless supply of awesome. How are you going to do that? And I can't do the same awesome shit I used to do. Obviously, my body's slowing down. I'm getting grayer. I'm getting older. But I always adapt. I always evolve. I always pivot or flex. I always find a way, because I'm not a fucking problem maker. I'm a problem solver. That's what I am. That's the difference between, the savage and the average. Is most people go through life problem makers. Why me? Blah, blah, blah. And every now and then you'll get a very few select that are like if you have someone comes to me, Ray, I have this problem. Well, what do you think the solution is? Well, I don't know. That's what I came to you for. No. As a leader, my job is to tell you if you made the right decision, not to tell you what the decision is.
Yeah.
So come back to me when you have a solution. Huh? Yeah, you got to think, bro. Or you got to think. People don't want to think now. Let me Google it. You can't Google everything. You can, but I can't Google emotions that I'm feeling. Yeah. I feel sad. I want to take this phone and throw it out the fucking window. Feeling this, I'm feeling that. I got the urge to drink. What happens if I get the urge to drink? Stupid.
But don't you think society has grooming everybody to not have critical thinking? Because a lot of times when you have an opinion, you could be canceled if it's not the popular opinion or it's not what mainstream is thinking. And it feels like they're taking away our ability to have critical thinking by making everything already decided for us. It's almost like it has to be taught again.
I agree. I think we need to put down the phones. We need to go back to this. I'm going to tell you this right now. Mark my words. Within the next 5 or 10 years, someone is going to sue someone for blinking at them the wrong way. They're going to win. We had the hot coffee with McDonald's. We've had people fall through roofs, burglars fall through people's roofs, and they sued. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and out here in California, if you're a woman trying to defend yourself, unless they're actively coming at you, you're not allowed to shoot them. They can come in your house. It's it's crazy. Yeah.
We've had that conversation. Somebody breaks into my house when I'm home. game on. Like, oh, let them have whatever they want. No, that's not what this country was founded on, letting people take whatever they want. This country was founded by men and women sacrificing blood, sweat, and tears to acquire the things that they deserve and earned. And I earned, I might not have the biggest house, but it's my house. And if you come into my house unannounced, game on. And I don't care how that sounds. I don't agree with, society telling me when I should feel threatened and when I shouldn't. If you break into my home with my family, if I'm laying in bed beside you and someone breaks into my home, I'm thinking the worst. I'm not thinking, oh, they're lost. No. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to win that situation, by whatever means it takes. And that's the problem. I don't think the younger generation is willing to really just roll up their sleeves and just, listen. I did this on Nick Bear's podcast and went big. I was like, I don't entrepreneur world. I don't even dust myself off anymore, man. I used to be like, oh shit, my shirt, there's it. I got hair messed. I don't give a fuck. Just get up and just swing again, man. I just keep swinging till I can't swing no more. So that's what I'm going to tell the youth. Just get up, take chances, believe in yourself, take risks, swing. You can win a game many ways. Home runs, singles, doubles. I just need forward movement. Just create motion and movement and success by believing in yourself. Because I believe in you. All the people listening here, I believe in you. If you're going through something, believe me, between the two of us, we've probably been there and done that. You can overcome adversity, and you can learn from your pain. I always say pain equals growth, growth equals power, power equals knowledge, and knowledge equals profit. Profit from your pain and share it with others. Don't hide it. Don't be embarrassed of it. Tell the world your pain. You'll feel better. Trust me, because there's so many people that can relate.
I love that. I have a lot of people like, well, how did you get Andy? How'd you do this? I was like, I asked. I took the steps. I did the work. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. They're so afraid of rejection that they won't take the shot. They won't take the step. They won't move forward. They're just like paralyzed by fear and of the unknown. They just won't take the shots. But I think that's our upbringing.
I had a penny for every no I had. I had more money than Priscilla. I love you, Andy. I know you're worth a lot, but I would.
Damn, that's a lot of no's, man.
I've been told no many times. Yeah.
Right. But then you just kept going, right? Like we can't stop just because.
The more I know, the more no's I get, the more I'm going to grow. Like I said, you just don't even dust yourself off, ladies and gentlemen. Just get up and just get back at it. That's how you're going to become successful, no matter what you do. Consistency. Right.
Yeah, that's the key. I love that. So will you please tell our listeners where they can find you? Because you have so many amazing programs. I mean, you just you were filming a TV show. You've got all these different programs. Please tell us all the amazing things.
The easiest way to find me is if you go to raycashcare.com. I have a website that shows everything. But if you go to my pages, on IG, I'm Ray Cash Care. On Instagram, that's on IG. On Facebook, I'm at Ray Cash Care, blue check. And then I've got LinkedIn, I'm Ray Cash Care. So anywhere you want to be, that's it. Just use that name, punch it in, it comes up. I answer every DM as long as it's respectful. And if it's if you're interested in doing any of my speaking or coaching, there's an application thing that you fill out. And I call back personally. I don't have all the assistants yet, but they're coming.
Nice. Where'd you get the cash? Last question. Where
so my original call sign was Care Bear. When I joined the CIA, they said, what's your call sign? And I said, Care Bear. The lady there, her name was Karen. This was back in 2004. She said, nope, I'm Care Bear. I was like, shit. I had a Cash shirt on because I'm a big, real prior Joaquin Phoenix, Johnny Cash fan. And one of the guys there said, we're going to call you Cash. I didn't even get it at first. So I was like, Cash, that's cool. I was so tired because of the jet lag and everything. And I looked down, I was like, oh. So it just kind of flowed, and Ray Cash Care, it has nothing to do with a monetary standpoint, but I liked what Johnny Cash stood for. He was just kind of an American cowboy, and he was trying to make a difference in the world. One song at a time. I'm trying to do it one human at a time.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. You've been amazing in every way.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an honor.
Yeah, appreciate you. We'll talk soon. So next time you'll come out here, I happen to have an ocean in my backyard, so you can drag all my staff through that surf. That would be amazing. Although the ocean is very cold out here. It's not like San Diego ocean or Florida ocean. It's kind of cold. So
Let's do it. I love you. Let's do it. Okay.
all right, deal. We'll talk soon.
Take care.